Coming up today, the second highest official in the North Korean embassy in London has defected to South Korea. The high-profile defection will make Pyongyang very uncomfortable. We knew it was sizzling hot, but now it's official. So far, this August has been the hottest month in Seoul in over a century. More than a dozen people have died of heat-related illnesses this summer. First, it's day 12 of the 2016 Olympics in Rio. We have all the latest from the Brazilian host city. Stay tuned for these stories and more. Hello to our viewers around the world at 6 a.m. on Thursday, August 18th, here in Seoul. Thank you for joining us. I'm Mark Broom. Our top story this morning, a North Korean diplomat who deserted his post in London is in South Korea. Tae-hun is the highest-ranking diplomat from the regime to ever seek asylum in the South. His high-profile defection is likely to cause Pyongyang some headaches, as he could give Seoul some extremely valuable information about the inner workings of the regime. Kim starts us off.
Seoul's Unification Ministry has confirmed that Tae-hun, North Korea's deputy ambassador to the UK, has entered South Korea along with his family.
Tae-hun's motivation to defect was fueled by his disillusionment with the Kim Jong-un regime, aspiration for South Korea's democratic society, and a better future for children, among other issues.
The spokesperson said Tae and his family are currently under the government's protection, and related agencies are conducting necessary procedures as usual without releasing further details. Tae's defection draws extra attention as he, previously known for being a fervent supporter of Pyongyang's policies, is the highest-ranking diplomat ever to enter the South to date.
Socialism is not something in the air. Socialism is reality. If you read our papers and the magazines and the photos, you can see how socialism is carried on and put into practice in some part of the world.
The Unification Ministry also said this case reflects the growing instability inside North Korea.
There is a growing perception among the North Korean elite that there is no hope in the Kim Jong-un regime. South Korea also believes that stability in North Korea's ruling class is getting weaker.
13 North Korean workers at a state-run restaurant in China, considered to be members of the regime's middle class, defected to South Korea back in April. While in July, a North Korean teenage math genius, part of the privileged class, sought asylum at the South Korean Consulate General in Hong Kong. Many North Korea experts in Seoul expect more defections from the North's upper class to continue, but it's less likely to lead to the collapse of the Kim regime. Kim, Arirang News.
Now, North Korea has reportedly resumed plutonium production by reprocessing spent fuel rods. Pyongyang has also stated that it has no plans to stop conducting nuclear tests. Hwang Ho-jun reports.
North Korea confirmed that it's producing plutonium, which is key to making nuclear weapons, and is getting ready for another nuclear test, according to Tokyo-based Kyodo news agency Wednesday. In a rare reply to a written interview, the North's Atomic Energy Institute, which holds jurisdiction over the regime's main nuclear facilities in Yongbyon, told Kyodo News that it has reprocessed spent nuclear fuel rods that were removed from a graphite-moderated reactor, which enables unenriched uranium to be used as nuclear fuel. The institute added it's been producing highly enriched uranium for nuclear power and weapons as planned, and that it's able to make nuclear arms lighter, smaller, and more diverse. It also renewed its claims of having a hydrogen bomb. The institute also says Pyongyang has no plans to halt its nuclear tests as long as it feels threatened by the United States' nuclear weapons. North Korea has repeatedly been defending its nuclear program, saying it doesn't make sense that only the regime's nuclear ambitions are deemed as a threat. Pyongyang conducted its fourth nuclear test in January this year, prompting the implementation of the toughest international sanctions on North Korea to date. Hwang Ho-jun, Arirang News.
Now, South Korea's defense chief travelled to the southern county of Seongju on Wednesday in a bid to quell residents' concerns over the upcoming deployment of the US THAAD missile defense system. Kwon So-hui reports.
Wednesday's visit was the second by South Korean Defense Chief Han Min-gu to Seongju County since the deployment of the Terminal High-Altitude Area Defense System was announced in July. His mission was to listen to and answer the concerns of local residents who are upset about the government's unilateral decision and are worried about potential health and environmental risks posed by radiation from the site. Before the closed-door meeting, Minister Han offered an apology.
I once again want to apologize that the Defense Ministry did not provide a sufficient explanation to the residents of Seongju and was not active enough in seeking your understanding.
The minister once again explained the necessity of the system.
In the face of North Korea's serious and growing nuclear and missile threats, the decision to deploy THAAD was the least measure that could be taken to protect the South Korean people.
And why Seongju is the best location for it. The county is located some 300 kilometers southeast of Seoul, and according to the ministry, was chosen on the basis of which location can militarily defend South Korea most broadly. But during the meeting, there was mention of an alternate location. It's not yet known where that is, but the Defense Ministry said it would look into it if that is the position of the locals. But on the THAAD deployment itself, there seems to be no going back.
There are no alternative to THAAD deployment. I mean, we have been thinking about our own, missile defense system, KAMD, and also 4D. But I think a more realistic and tangible options would be THAAD deployment. I mean, we have to have a multiple layered defense system vis-a-vis North Korea.
Meanwhile, Minister Han Min-gu told residents that what's clear is that if North Korea would get rid of its weapons, there would be no need for THAAD. Kwon So-hui, Arirang News.
Now, the prolonged heatwave in Korea is having a wide-reaching effect, including on the domestic economy. Experts say one factor behind the sweltering temperatures has been more ozone, but fortunately for Korea, that, in fact, is one problem the government should be able to do something to address. Kim Jong-soo has the details.
According to the Korean Meteorological Administration, this August is on track to be the hottest month ever recorded in Seoul. For the first 15 days of August, the capital averaged 29.7 degrees Celsius. That's 0.3 degrees above the same period in 1994, the current hottest year on record. The heat is taking a toll on the Korean economy, especially in the livestock, fishing, and agriculture sectors. According to the Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs, more than 3.5 million livestock, including chickens, ducks, and pigs, have died in the heat in the past month. That's 38% more than the same period last year, and the ministry has said it expects still more losses. The heat has also raised sea temperatures from the 21 to 22 degrees ideal for breeding in coastal fisheries to 30 degrees at times. This has caused losses of 50 to 60% at Korea's major abalone nurseries in Wando, Jeollanam-do Province. As for the nation's farmers, a month-long drought has devastated harvests, with yields of chili peppers in some areas, including Chungcheongbuk-do Province, falling more than 60%. Corn farmers have reported that 20 to 30% of their crop has dried up, rendering harvest impossible. One factor believed to be causing higher temperatures is more ozone in the air. According to air pollution monitoring website Air Korea, local authorities across the country have issued a combined 202 ozone level alerts covering 45 days this year, the most since 1995. Experts have called for a more coordinated response to keep ozone levels down.
This heat wave should be addressed along with China and Japan in terms of developing the cooperation on the monitoring and controlling the weather systems. And also at the global level, in terms of their working together with the United States and the European Union, for instance, can be done by developing the international standards to promote the low-carbon green technologies, again, which will reduce the greenhouse gas emissions.
Experts also note that Korea can play a pivotal role in battling climate change as host to major international climate change organizations, including the Global Green Growth Institute. Kim Jong-soo, Arirang News.
So, as we just heard in Jong-soo's report there, over the past couple of weeks, both Seoul and also the southern port city of Busan have seen their highest temperatures in more than a century. The record heat has led to a series of unfortunate incidents, including more than a dozen deaths of heat-related illnesses. Our Iji-won has more.
It is so hot these days that I have to shower many times a day.
As reported in the news, this year has been extremely hot with record-breaking temperatures in Busan. I think the humidity has made it even worse, and this summer's been really tough for me.
The westerly wind brought warm air from China, and combined with already warm air in Korea from high pressure in the North Pacific, it's made this year even hotter.
It's not just uncomfortable. The record-breaking heat wave has affected society in a number of ways, some quite serious. Korea has already recorded the highest number of deaths from heat-related illnesses since record-keeping began in 2011. 16 people have reportedly died from heat stroke, heat edema, or heat cramps. This summer, 1,800 people in Korea have reportedly suffered from heat-related illnesses, which is about 1.7 times higher than last year and 3.2 times higher than in 2014. Meanwhile, with more people using air conditioners and fans, Korea's demand for electricity hit an all-time high in August. The added strain on people's pocketbooks has revived calls to reform the country's electricity billing system. Adopted in 1973, the system is based on a cumulative billing scheme and requires households to pay a higher price for the same amount of electricity when they use more. The power company applies additional charges in 6 stages. For the first 100 kilowatts, the household pays about 5 cents per kilowatt in U.S. currency. But after 500 kilowatts, the household has to pay about 64 cents per kilowatt. Growing complaints about the billing scheme has prompted the government to announce that it is seeking ways to alleviate the financial burden on households. With the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change expecting the heat waves to become stronger in the coming years, climate experts say the government needs to work on providing relief by building more centers for the elderly and socially vulnerable groups, in addition to changing the electricity billing system. 이지원, 아리랑 뉴스.
Now let's get our daily update from the 2016 Olympics in Rio. And after a bad couple of days with loss after loss in badminton, volleyball and wrestling, things could be looking up for Team Korea on day 12 of the Games. Making a return after more than a century, the women golfers teed off on Wednesday. Opening with a 5-under par 66, world number 5 Park Inbee is second on the leaderboard, 1 shot behind the leader from Thailand. World number 6, Kim Se-young, is tied for second with Park. Korean-born world number 1, Lydia Ko, representing New Zealand, is 4 shots behind the leader and 3 behind Park and Kim. The other 2 female golfers from Korea are way down the field at the moment. Hopes are high that Team Korea can scoop at least a couple of medals in women's golf, especially after the great starts made by Park and Kim. Team Korea will win at least a silver in women's Taekwondo after 2-time world champion Kim So-hui beat her French opponent in the semi-final. It was a nail-biting contest in the 49-kilogram category, but Kim came out ahead with a golden point to take the win and seal her place in the gold medal match. Kim breezed through the earlier rounds but had a tough grind against a fighter from Thailand in the quarters. Kim will take on Tijana Bogdanovic of Serbia in the gold medal match in a few hours from now. On the men's side, Team Korea's Kim Tae-hun was knocked out in the round of 16 by Tawin Hanprap of Thailand 12-10. Competing in the 58-kilogram category, Kim fought a hard match, but it wasn't quite enough to progress. The result came as a surprise to many, as Kim is a two-time world champion, but his stay in Rio has come to an end. In men's football, the host nation has sealed a spot in the final after a slow start to the tournament. Brazil cruised past Honduras in an easy 6-0 win over the Central American side in Wednesday's semi-final. Brazil's star player, that man there, Neymar, got the ball rolling early, scoring the fastest goal in Olympic history after just 14 seconds. Brazil scored 3 goals in either half in a victory that never really looked in any doubt at all. Brazil will play Germany for the gold medal in Sao Paulo on Saturday. In athletics, Kenya's Conseslus Kipruto has won gold in the men's 3,000-metre steeplechase, setting an Olympic record in the process. The 21-year-old came home in a time of 8 minutes, 3.28 seconds. Kipruto was so far ahead of his rivals that he actually started celebrating and waving to the crowd at the start of the final straight. With the triumph, Kenya maintains its iron-like grip on this event. It has now won every 3,000-metre steeplechase since 1968, having boycotted the 1976 and 1980 Olympics for political reasons. Well, that's all we have for now. I'm Mark Broom. Thank you as always for watching. We'll be back throughout the day with more newscasts. Our next scheduled bulletin coming up at 10 a.m. Korea time. So until then, goodbye.